And that was going to bring me to my next question. And we get this all the time. We run into this with people who you think would know better, from emergency room physicians to opposing lawyers, and oftentimes judges. I mean, if you survive the carbon monoxide poisoning, what's the big deal?
Well, the big deal is that the body requires oxygen. All the cells in the body require oxygen, and a cell can, in fact, be asphyxiated. Um, and that is most likely to happen when in very severe poisonings where the heart might stop. Um, Most of the people who die from carbon monoxide are dying from heart attack because there's not enough oxygen in the blood to keep the heart beating. But the secondary effects of carbon monoxide are more felt in terms of the brain and possibly other organs as well, but especially the brain. Because what happens is it kicks in this cycle of immunological response, setting off chemicals that create a metabolic cascade of proteins and involves the penetration of what's the blood-brain barrier. And the blood-brain barrier is a barrier on each blood vessel where only the smallest molecules are supposed to penetrate through this relatively unporous blood vessel layer and get into the tissue itself. But the carbon monoxide sets off these proteins that attack the blood-brain barrier, making these holes more porous, and the bad chemicals get on the wrong side of the barrier. So chemicals that only belong in the bloodstream get into the brain tissue, and chemicals that only belong in the brain tissue side get into the bloodstream. And then it just sets off immunological responses that are not meant to be. And ultimately, you can wind up with an autoimmune disorder and the equivalent of a short term of an autoimmune disorder and ultimately a long term an autoimmune disorder. And the bottom line is that significant brain damage can occur. And that's what the cases are about. We don't typically represent people who die from carbon monoxide. We represent people who have permanent damage, and 99% of that damage starts with the brain damage.